Come inside. I won't ask why. 6 words. That's all it took to destroy her life. The man bleeding on her doorstep? A mafia boss with a price on his head. She patched him up. He vanished. Then 50 armed men showed up at her door. Her face hit every watch list in the city. And the man she saved? He just sent one message. You're mine now. If this story already has you curious, click subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from, because the next story will leave you breathless. Rain slapped the apartment windows like fists. Outside, the streetlights buzzed, flickering against the storm's wrath. Inside, Leah Monroe sat cross-legged on her worn couch, surrounded by stacks of recipe notes and empty bakery boxes. Her shift at Pine and Crumb had ended 3 hours ago, but she hadn't stopped working. Baking calmed her. Thinking ahead to tomorrow's morning rush helped distract her from the silence that followed her home every night. Then came the knock. A single, sharp thud. Then another. Slower, heavier. She froze, fingers tight around the pen she'd been chewing. Midnight knocks weren't just strange in her rundown neighborhood, they were dangerous. She crept to the peephole. Nothing. Another knock. This time, softer, almost like a collapse. Heart in her throat, Leah cracked the door open just enough to peer through. That's when she saw him. Soaked, bloodied, barely upright. A man tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in all black leaned against the frame, one hand pressed tightly to his side. Blood streamed between his fingers, staining his shirt and dripping onto her welcome mat. His face was sharp, too sharp for someone half-conscious. Yet his jaw clenched with alertness, a predator forced into pause. Leah's instincts screamed to slam the door. Call 911. Hide. Instead, she opened the door. Come inside, she said, barely recognizing her own voice. I won't ask why. He didn't speak, just staggered past her and collapsed onto the floor. She locked the door behind him, drew the blinds, then ran for her first aid kit. Don't move, she said, kneeling beside him. The man didn't answer, but his eyes ice gray under thick lashes tracked her every motion, even as his body trembled. She peeled his jacket away. 3 gashes across his ribs. 1 deep. All fresh. I need to stitch this, she murmured, grabbing the needle and thread from the emergency pouch. You'll need a hospital after this. No hospital, he rasped, voice gravel-thick. Just stitch. Leah paused, then nodded. Fine. But you're explaining this once you can breathe properly. She worked in silence, hands steady despite the adrenaline surging in her blood. He watched her, never flinching, never groaning, just breathing through the pain like he was used to worse. Once done, she wrapped him in a blanket and pulled the couch pillow beneath his head. He was asleep within minutes. Or pretending to be. Leah leaned against the wall, still barefoot, her eyes glued to the stranger bleeding on her rug. What the hell did I just do? By the time dawn cracked through the rain clouds, the man was gone. No goodbye. No name. Just the faint scent of gunpowder on her blanket and the blood-soaked gauze in her trash. She thought it was over. Until she opened her blinds and saw the line of black SUVs parked across the street. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Don't open your door. Don't talk to anyone. And don't be afraid. She dropped the phone. Another message came through. You saved me. Now you don't get to disappear. By the time Leah managed to catch her breath, the apartment felt like a cage. She paced the living room, pulling back the curtain just enough to peek outside. 6 black SUVs were parked across the street, windows tinted, engines off, but unmistakably occupied. Dark silhouettes sat in each one like statues. This wasn't paranoia. This was pressure. She tried to call the police once. Her thumb hovered over 9, but something in her gut twisted hard. Because deep down, she already knew the truth. He hadn't been just a criminal. He was something bigger. Her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. No name, no icon. This time. Stay inside. We won't hurt you. You're under protection now. Leah's stomach dropped. Protection? The word sounded like a threat wrapped in a promise. Then came the knock. Not on the front door, but on the back window. She spun, heart in her throat, only to see a man standing calmly in her alley, wearing a dark trench coat and earpiece. He lifted his hand in a quiet wave, not asking, not threatening, just watching. Leah backed away slowly, pulling her curtains shut. She tried to go about her day, tried to get dressed for her morning shift at Pine and Crumb, even packed her work bag. But when she stepped out the front door, a man stepped in her path. Leah Monroe? He asked politely, his voice low and professional. She didn't answer, just stared at the tailored suit, the glossy shoes, the slight bulge under his jacket that was definitely not a wallet. I've been asked to drive you today, he continued. You're not safe on foot. Her mind spun. You're what? A bodyguard? The man didn't blink. Let's just say, I work for someone who considers you very important. A laugh bubbled out of her chest, but it came out brittle. You've got the wrong girl. I'm not important to anyone. He tilted his head. That's what you think. She refused to get in the car. Walked to work with shaky hands and every hair on her neck standing up. But the SUV followed her slow, unbothered, like a shadow she couldn't outrun. At the bakery, her boss Angie raised an eyebrow as Leah ducked behind the counter. You okay, hun? She asked. You look like you've seen a ghost. Leah managed to smile. Just didn't sleep well. Well, if a zombie apocalypse breaks out, you're still on cinnamon roll duty. I don't care if you're half dead. Leah chuckled, grateful for the normalcy. But halfway through her shift, she noticed the suited man standing outside the cafe window. Same man, same calm stare. He didn't wave. He didn't leave. He just stood there, watching. That night, Leah pulled her couch in front of the door. She wasn't sure who she was trying to keep out, any more strangers, or him. The man she'd stitched back together. The one who bled on her floor and vanished like smoke. He hadn't told her his name. She hadn't asked. But something about the power around him, the quiet gravity in the room, it screamed of a man used to being obeyed. A man with enemies. Which meant she now had enemies, too. She turned on the TV to drown out the fear. And that's when she saw it. Breaking news. Violent Mafia war erupts in North End. Romano family targeted in bloody ambush. Leah sat up straight. The screen showed blurred images from a CCTV camera, an alley, a gunfight, and then a single frame that chilled her blood. A man in black. Bleeding. Staggering. Him. The reporter's voice cracked through the silence. Sources say the elusive leader of the Romano syndicate, Nico Romano, is believed to have survived the ambush despite heavy injuries. Authorities suspect he's in hiding. A citywide manhunt is underway. Leah's mouth went dry. Nico Romano. The name echoed like a bomb in her chest. That was who she'd let into her home? A mafia boss? A man with an empire of blood behind him? Her hands trembled as she picked up her phone and scrolled through the earlier texts. No name. No photo. Just promises. You're under protection now. You don't get to disappear. Her stomach clenched. There was no going back. The next morning, Leah's world cracked wide open. She didn't even get out of bed before it started. A thunderous knock shook her apartment door. She grabbed a knife from her nightstand, the only thing within reach, and crept toward the peephole. But it wasn't Nico. It was worse. 5 men in military-grade suits, bulletproof vests, tactical gear. One of them held a photo. Her photo. FBI, the man barked. Open the door. Now. Leah's blood ran cold. She opened the door slowly, hands raised. Leah Monroe? She nodded, too afraid to speak. We have questions about a man who may have entered your residence 3 nights ago. His name is Nico Romano. She blinked. Who? Don't play dumb, another agent snapped. You're on half a dozen traffic cams escorting a man matching Romano's description into this building. Her voice cracked. I didn't know who he was. He was hurt. You're harboring a fugitive. That's a federal offense. She shook her head. He left. I didn't even get his name. The lead agent studied her. Cold, calculating. Then his phone buzzed. He answered, listened, nodded once, and turned back to her. You're not under arrest. Yet. But don't leave town. Then they left. Leah sank to the floor, heart pounding like war drums. They had her photo. They knew her name. And that meant. So, did everyone else. An hour later, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You're safe. Don't talk to the feds again. She stared at it, then typed back. You told me nothing would happen. I helped you. Now I'm on a watch list. The response came instantly. You helped me live. I'll make sure no one hurts you for it. Then a second message, slower this time. I didn't want you involved, but now you are. And that means one thing. She waited. The final message made her hands shake. You belong to me now. She hadn't seen him in 4 days. Not since that night. Not since the blood. Not since the way his hand had gripped the doorframe before disappearing into the storm like a ghost she might have imagined. But ghosts didn't send text messages. And they certainly didn't come back in black. Leah had just finished taking the trash to the alley when she saw the car. A sleek black Maybach with mirror-tinted windows gliding toward the curb, quiet as a shadow. The driver didn't get out. The engine didn't shut off. The passenger door opened, and he stepped out. No limp, no bandages. No sign of the man who had bled across her hardwood floor. Just black on black tailored power, with eyes like polished steel under lashes that should have belonged to a model, not a murderer. He didn't speak. Didn't need to. Leah froze. You, her voice cracked. He raised one hand, and just like that, the world felt quiet. I didn't come to scare you, he said. But her heart didn't get the memo. He took a step forward. She took a step back. I didn't know who you were, she whispered. I know. I didn't know. I know, Leah. Her name in his mouth made her stomach twist. It sounded wrong and intimate all at once. I came to say thank you, Nico said, for what you did. Then he dropped something at her feet. A black duffel bag, unzipped, stacks of $100 bills poking out from inside like green teeth. Leah gasped. What is this? Compensation, he said simply. You saved my life. I don't forget debts. I didn't ask for this. No, he said, but you're getting it anyway. She backed away, her hands up. I don't want your money. I want out. His eyes darkened. You think that's how this works? I don't owe you anything. No, he said softly. But I owe you. And I protect what I owe. That night, she didn't sleep. The bag of money sat in her bathtub, untouched. Outside her window, the same black SUV idled quiet, patient, like a beast waiting to be called. He hadn't forced his way in. He hadn't threatened her. He'd just appeared and left that message behind. I protect what I owe. But it didn't feel like protection. It felt like ownership. The next morning, her coworkers whispered when she arrived. Angie gave her a look and pulled her into the back. You okay? She asked. Because there's a guy out front with a face like he eats bullets for breakfast, and he said he's your ride. Leah blinked. What? He said Mr. Romano asked him to drive you. Everything inside Leah went cold. She stepped into the front window and peeked out. There he was again. Suited. Sunglasses. Car running. He didn't wave. Didn't look away. Didn't even blink. Why is this happening to me? She whispered. She tried again. She packed a bag that night: cash, ID, burner phone. Booked a last-minute train out of town, told no one. She made it 2 blocks before she realized they were already there. 1 man by the bus stop. 2, leaning against a closed hardware store. A 3rd pretending to fix his tie across the street, but she saw the gun in his waistband. Then a sleek car pulled up beside her, window down. Nico's voice was calm but deadly. Get in the car, Leah. She ran. She didn't make it far. 2 men caught her near a bakery dumpster, not rough, but firm. Quiet. Like they'd done this 1,000 times. They didn't hurt her. They just brought her back to the waiting car. Nico opened the door himself. She tried to scream. He shook his head once. You think I'd let you vanish? He asked. Her voice was hoarse. I'm not yours. He nodded. Maybe not yet. He leaned forward, voice like steel dipped in honey. But when you opened your door and kept me alive, you did something I don't let go of. You gave me a place when the whole city wanted me dead. She stared at him, trembling. I didn't know, she whispered. I do, he said. And that's enough. Back at her apartment, she didn't unpack the bag. She didn't speak. Didn't cry. She sat on her bed, knees to chest, and stared at the walls as night crept in. Another message buzzed on her phone. From Nico. Rest, you're safe now. Then a second one. Try to run again, and I'll lock the world down to keep you here. Her hand trembled as she dropped the phone on the floor. And for the first time since all this began, Leah sobbed. She cried for the quiet life she'd had. For the stranger she'd tried to save. And for the cage that now came wrapped in silk and steel. She stopped locking her door after that. What was the point? The locks weren't for men like Nico Romano. They were for junkies. For street rats. For a late-night panic. But he didn't break in. He sent messages. Gifts. Silent cars that waited at the corner all night like black statues. Control didn't come from force. It came from the illusion of choice. And Leah was learning fast. She had none left. At first, it was small. A sleek black umbrella left leaning against her door when rain was in the forecast. A new phone slipped into her mailbox, same number, better encryption. A security camera mysteriously installed above her hallway entrance. Then came the tail. Leah noticed it when she went to the grocery store. He wasn't subtle, didn't need to be. Slick suit. Tinted sunglasses, always 20 feet away, never interfering. The 4th time she saw him, she confronted him near the cereal aisle. Are you seriously following me inside a grocery store? The man didn't blink. For your safety, Miss Monroe. I didn't ask for safety. You don't have to. She turned on her heel and walked out with her basket still in hand. By the time she got home, the groceries she abandoned were already stacked neatly on her kitchen counter. I can't live like this, she muttered to herself. She was on her 3rd night without sleep when the final straw snapped. At 2:41 a.m., her apartment light flickered. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Don't worry. The power surge wasn't targeted. We've restored backup. She snapped. She picked up the phone, dialed the only number she knew had answers now. He picked up on the first ring. Nico, she hissed. This ends now. Silence. Then, Where are you? You already know. Another pause. I'm coming. She waited for him outside. Rain fell again, like it always did when he appeared. When the car pulled up, he didn't step out right away. The door opened slow. He got out with the same calm confidence, black on black, hair damp, unbothered. She didn't wait for him to speak. I'm not your project, she said, voice sharp. I never said you were. You're controlling my life. I'm protecting your life. From what, Nico? What exactly am I in danger of? His eyes darkened. From the people who want to use you against me. Because of that one night? I didn't know who you were. I didn't ask for any of this. No, you didn't, he agreed. But you gave it anyway. Kindness, mercy. And in this world, mercy comes with consequences. She shook her head. You act like I saved your life, and now I belong to you. Then came his quiet reply. You do. The next morning, her manager pulled her aside at the bakery. Hey, Leah? She looked up, heart already in her throat. Yeah? There was a man here this morning. Dropped off something for you. He handed her a letter. Inside, a check. More zeros than she'd ever seen. No, she breathed. The manager grinned. You won't believe this, but he paid off the entire lease on the building. Gave us a new espresso machine, too. Her stomach turned. Later that day, she tried again. Packed a backpack. Got on a bus toward the state line. No announcement. No phones. Just the rising pulse of escape in her throat. She made it 2 cities away. The bus stopped. A man boarded. Slick suit. Black shades. Sat beside her. You don't have to do this, he said. She didn't reply. He handed her a phone. Nico's voice came through immediately. Calm, dangerous. You're smarter than this. Her throat went tight. You can't keep doing this. I can, he said. And I will. You're treating me like some sort of possession. You helped me live, he said flatly. That means you belong to me now. She ended the call and got off the bus at the next stop. He didn't stop her. But when she got home again, her door was unlocked. Inside, her lights were on. And the duffel bag? Still there. Still full. But now, there was something new. A velvet box on her table. Inside, a delicate gold chain. With a small silver tag. Engraved. Belonging doesn't mean prison. It means protection. Her knees buckled. And somewhere, in the back of her heart, a part of her began to ache not from fear, but from how seen she felt. And that terrified her, more than anything Nico could ever do. She didn't plan to see him again. But plans didn't mean anything when your name was already on someone else's list. Leah Monroe woke up to silence, no footsteps in the hall, no black cars outside, no mysterious phone pings. And that was the first sign something was wrong. Because silence was never safe in Nico Romano's world. It was just the sound that came before the explosion. She left her apartment cautiously, nerves coiled tight like a spring in her chest. At work, no suited man followed her. No tinted window glared from across the street. Even the barista at the corner cafe, who usually greeted her with an awkward glance toward the ever-present security, seemed relaxed. She was free. Or so she thought. Until she turned the corner. And there he was. Leaning against the brick wall near the alley, dressed in a tailored black coat and gloves, his dark eyes locked on hers like heat-seeking missiles. Her breath caught. Not because of fear, but because even now, after everything, her heart still reacted before her brain could catch up. Nico. He didn't move. You tried to run. She crossed her arms. So what? You gonna throw me in a basement now? Chain me to a radiator? His lips twitched, just slightly. That won't be necessary. Good, because I'm not yours. That wiped the smirk from his face. He pushed off the wall and walked toward her slow, deliberate. She backed up, but there was nowhere to go. He stopped inches from her, his scent leather, spice, danger wrapped around her like a noose. You keep saying that, he murmured, but you keep opening your door to me. Her voice trembled, but her spine stayed straight. Because I didn't know who you were. And now that you do, his voice dropped lower. You still haven't told anyone. You haven't called the cops. You haven't run to the press. Why? She hated the truth. But she said it anyway. Because I don't know if you're the villain or the victim. Silence stretched between them. Then, suddenly, he kissed her. It wasn't soft. It wasn't hesitant. It was brutal and raw, like he was punishing her lips for daring to speak truths he wasn't ready to hear. She pushed him back. Hard. Slapped him across the face. His cheek turned red, but he didn't look angry. He looked relieved, as if her resistance proved something. I didn't ask for this, she said, voice shaking. Any of it. His voice came low. Cold, quiet. You helped me live. That makes you mine. Her eyes widened. You don't get to say that like it's love. That's not love. No, he agreed. It's war. Back at her apartment that night, she found something waiting. Not Nico. Not his men. But a black envelope taped to her door. No name. No signature. Inside, a photo of her taken through a sniper lens, crosshairs over her chest. She dropped it like it burned. And that's when she understood. Nico wasn't the only one watching. She didn't sleep. By morning, her apartment window was broken. A single bullet lodged in her toaster. No note this time. Just a silent message. She was officially a pawn in something bigger. And it was too late to step away. She called the number he left her. Didn't wait for pleasantries. I want answers, all of them. Nico didn't hesitate. I'm sending a car. She met him in an underground parking garage. He stood beside a matte black SUV, arms folded. Talk, she said. He looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time, she saw something in his face that made her stomach twist regret. You think I picked your apartment at random, he said. She frowned. You didn't. No. He stepped forward. You testified, 4 years ago, against a city councilman. Do you remember? Her eyes narrowed. He was taking bribes, covering up gang violence. I saw a deal happen. I had to speak up. Nico nodded. He was connected to one of my enemies. I was tracking him, and you. Her blood went cold. You were watching me? Not to hurt you. To protect you. That councilman didn't go quietly. There was a price on your head. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were safer not knowing. She backed away. You don't get to play the savior and the stalker. You're right. Then, he added softly, but I'd do it again. She stared at him, heart pounding. I gave you a place to hide, Nico. That didn't mean I handed you my life. He stepped close. But you did, he said. You just didn't know it yet. What would you do if the man you saved turned out to be your shadow protector all along? Would you run or stay? Tell me in the comments below. I want to hear your take. The air in her apartment felt too still, like it was holding its breath. Leah Monroe stood by the kitchen window, staring down at the street where a sleek black car used to idle every day. Nico's men, his shadows were gone. No watchful presence. No subtle protection. And that, more than anything, terrified her. They had disappeared without a word. Just like Nico had, ever since their last meeting. She clutched her phone, thumb hovering over his number. Part of her wanted to call. The other part couldn't forget his words. You helped me live. That makes you mine. It was the possessiveness that scared her. The intensity. The way he made it feel like saving his life gave him permission to own hers. But even scarier than Nico Romano's obsession was the silence that followed it. The knock came just before midnight. 3 soft taps. She didn't open it. Not this time. She crept toward the door, heart hammering, and looked through the peephole. Nothing. She stepped back, then the lights cut out. Everything went black. Her breath caught. Then came the crashing sound. Back door, kicked open. She ran, heart in her throat, but someone grabbed her before she could reach her phone. A needle. A hand over her mouth. And darkness. She woke up cold. The floor beneath her was concrete. Dim lights flickered above. She was in some kind of abandoned warehouse, wrists tied loosely with zip ties enough to hurt, but not enough to cut circulation. She was alive. For now. And she wasn't alone. A man stood in front of her, wearing a designer coat and a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. Leah Monroe, he drawled. You don't look like much. She blinked, disoriented. Who? I'm the man Nico Romano stole everything from. He interrupted. And you're the pretty little weakness he thought he could hide. Her blood turned to ice. You think he cares? She snapped, finding her voice. He barely speaks to me. I was just a girl he kissed like his life depended on it. The man finished, amused. We've been watching. The way he looks at you? He'd level a city block if anyone touched your hair. He crouched beside her. That's why I'm going to send him your picture. Tied up. Scared. Maybe a little bruised. He reached forward, and she flinched. But here's the twist, he whispered. You're not just leverage anymore. She froze. What? You know too much. Names. Faces. Where he hides. What he wants. You've been in his world long enough to burn it to the ground. He stood. So, sweetheart. Now you have value. Hours passed. She sat alone, cold and furious. Not just at the man who kidnapped her, but at Nico. Because he'd dragged her into this. He'd known she was a target from the beginning. He'd watched her, shadowed her, inserted himself into her life, and now it was all catching up. She leaned her head back and whispered, You should have left me alone. The door burst open. Gunfire. Explosions. Screams. Men shouting in Italian and English. And then, Nico. Covered in blood. Breathing like a man possessed. He dropped to his knees in front of her, cupped her face. Leah. She blinked at him through tears. You came. His jaw clenched. Of course I came. They touched what's mine. She expected him to shout or curse or interrogate her. Instead, he just held her. For the first time, his hands trembled. He didn't speak again until she was safe inside his armored SUV, guards posted all around them, the warehouse behind them burning to ash. He turned to her, voice hoarse. I wanted to keep you out of this. You failed, she whispered. He nodded once. I know. Back in his penthouse, her legs still weak, her throat sore from screaming, she sat on his couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at nothing. He poured her a glass of water, sat beside her. I don't want to be your weakness, she said. You're not, he replied. You're my line in the sand. She looked at him, hollow. What does that mean? He stared out the window at the city skyline. It means if anyone crosses you, I end them, no questions, no hesitation. She flinched at the coldness in his tone. But she also understood it now. Nico Romano wasn't a man who loved gently. He loved like a weapon. She touched the bruise on her cheek, wincing. He noticed. Stood. Punched a hole in the wall. It made her jump. Then he whispered, "I'm sorry. I should have seen it coming." She turned her face to him. "What now?" He didn't answer right away. Then, slowly, "Now I show you everything." The first target went down at dawn. An old warehouse used as a weapons drop by Nico's rivals was engulfed in flames by 6 a.m. By noon, 2 enemy safe houses were raided not by police, but by masked men moving like shadows, no survivors. And by nightfall, the city's underworld whispered one name again and again: Romano. Leah stood at the edge of Nico's penthouse balcony, arms wrapped tightly around herself. Below, the city pulsed with oblivious life. People laughing, walking, sipping lattes, all unaware that a silent war was erupting beneath their feet. And it had started because of her. Behind her, Nico paced phone to his ear, barking orders in Italian and English. She couldn't keep up, couldn't breathe in the chaos of it all. So much blood. All because she'd opened a door. "I need out," she whispered when he finally ended the call. He turned to her slowly. "Out?" Her voice wavered. "Out of this apartment. Out of this life. I want it all to stop." He walked toward her, slow but steady. "I told you, I didn't mean for you to get hurt. But now," she snapped. "Now, I'm your what? Your motivation? Your excuse to kill everyone who's ever crossed you?" His jaw tightened. "Now you're the reason I won't stop." She backed away. "That's not love, Nico. That's war." He stopped just inches from her. "In my world, they're the same thing." That night, he left again. No words. Just a nod to his men, a signal to protect her like she was state treasure. And then he vanished into the streets, into the bloodbath he was orchestrating. By midnight, his enemies had lost 5 territories. One of them, the man who orchestrated her abduction, was found in his luxury villa with a bullet in each hand. Message sent. Leah watched the news with shaking hands. Fires. Arrests. Shootouts. It was as if the city was unraveling thread by thread, all because she'd offered a man a towel and a couch. The screen flickered to surveillance footage. A shadowed figure storming through a hallway. Gunfire echoing. And behind him, the blurred image of a woman with long dark curls and a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. Her. She turned the TV off and pressed her back to the wall. How had her quiet life, the one with flour on her apron and early morning shifts at the bakery, turned into this? A war. A man with blood on his hands whispering that she belonged to him. A life under guard. Was this protection or imprisonment? Hours passed before the elevator dinged. She didn't rush to the door this time. She stood still, waiting. And then he stepped in. Coat torn, hands scraped, shirt dark with someone else's blood. He was breathing hard, like he'd run here, like every breath was punishment. She stared at him in horror. "You said you'd show me everything. I didn't realize that meant showing me how far you'd go to prove a point." He dropped to his knees. Not like a prince. Like a soldier who'd finally lost the war inside him. "I told myself if I could get you back, I'd make it right," he rasped. "Burning half the city isn't making it right, Nico." He looked up, and for the first time, she saw something raw in his eyes. Not power, not control. Grief. "Then tell me how," he whispered. She knelt too, facing him. Quiet. Still. Then she took his hand. The one that shook. The one that had held guns, knives, death. And she placed it on her heart. "You find a way to come back to this." He nodded once, then leaned forward, resting his forehead to hers. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was filled with everything unsaid. Everything breaking. And everything that still held. The next morning, she found him standing by the window. Not looking out, looking in. At himself. At her. He turned, calm. I'm ending it. She blinked. What? He held up a phone. If I hit send, every file, every record, my accounts, my locations, my history disappears. She stared at it. You're going to erase your empire? He nodded. For you. But just before his finger moved, the door burst open. One of his men, frantic. Boss feds. They're moving. It's now or never. Nico turned to her, eyes clear. If I don't come back. She stepped forward, heart in her throat. I'll wait. He pressed the phone into her palm. No. If I don't come back, you send it. And then he was gone. Again. Into a war he swore to end for her. But this time, he might not survive it. The apartment was too quiet. Leah sat at the edge of the couch, Nico's burner phone in her hands, the one that could erase an empire with a single press. Its cold plastic felt heavier than a weapon. Because that's what it was. A weapon built of secrets. And love. And betrayal. She didn't sleep that night. Didn't eat. Every time the elevator dinged, she jerked awake, hoping it was him, dreading that it wouldn't be. But the door never opened. Only silence. And the echo of his voice. If I don't come back, hit send. By dawn. She cracked. She walked to the kitchen, made coffee with trembling hands, and sat back down with the phone. A contact flashed on the screen. Jay. Her thumb hovered. Curiosity wasn't safe. But what was? She tapped it. The message history loaded. She's alive. She still works at the bakery. She's the one who testified. Nico, keep eyes on her. From a distance. No contact, not yet. Leah's heart froze. She kept scrolling. Months of updates. Photos. Logs. Schedules. He'd known her for almost a year. And hadn't said a word. The door finally opened just after 10 a.m. Nico stepped in, coat slung over his arm. Bruises on his face, but alive. Leah didn't wait. She hurled the phone at him hard. It smacked his chest and clattered to the ground. You knew, she said, voice hollow. You knew who I was. This wasn't chance. You came to my door on purpose. He didn't deny it. He bent, picked up the phone, and placed it on the counter. I did. The silence between them was ice and fire. Why? She whispered. Why pretend you didn't know me? Because if I told you, you would have run. Damn right I would have. He exhaled slowly. I watched you because I had to. You testified against someone tied to a man I wanted to bring down for years. The minute your name hit the court logs, they marked you. Marked me? For death. Her breath hitched. I made sure no one could touch you, he continued. Not then, not now. She sank onto the couch. So you protected me like I was some operation? No. His voice cracked. I protected you because I couldn't stop watching. Not after I saw who you were. Not after I saw how kind you were to people who had nothing. He stepped closer. You weren't just a witness to them. You became something else to me. She looked up at him, broken. I gave a stranger a place to hide. And I ended up losing myself. He kneeled before her again, just like he had after the war. But I found myself in you. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small black notebook. Inside were scribbled pages of her life. Her shift hours. Her favorite pastry. A note from months ago that simply read, She makes the world quieter. She flipped to the last page. If she ever lets me in, I'll burn the whole world to keep her safe. Tears slid down her cheeks. I never asked you to. I know, he whispered, but I would anyway. She looked at him through blurred vision. You didn't give me a choice. He brushed her tear away with his thumb. I'm giving you one now. He stood, walked to the balcony. Below, his men were packing up. Cars pulled away. The war was done. He'd won. Or lost. She couldn't tell anymore. He turned to her, eyes softer than she'd ever seen. You can still walk away. This world doesn't deserve you. I don't deserve you. She walked slowly to him. Quiet. Barefoot. And took his hand. I'm not walking away. He pulled her into his arms. For the first time, it didn't feel like surrender. It felt like peace. What matters more, knowing the truth or trusting your heart? Let me know in the comments. Some answers only make sense when spoken aloud. They didn't run. Not at first. Not like people who were guilty. They walked out of the apartment side by side, hand in hand, past the last line of Nico's guards. No bulletproof cars. No black SUVs. No empire. Just a man and a woman who had burned their bridges and stood in the ashes together. Leah took a breath. The air felt different. Because something had ended. And something else was just beginning. 2 days later, the FBI came knocking. She opened the door calmly. Nico had already disappeared. She wasn't surprised. But they didn't arrest her. They asked questions. Showed pictures. Laid down recordings. She told them the truth, the only version she had left. He came to my door bleeding. I let him in, and the next day, my life was never the same. Did he threaten you? No. Did he ask for shelter? No. Did he tell you who he was? No. Did he say anything at all? Leah paused. Then nodded. He said, "Thank you." They couldn't touch her. Not really. No fingerprints. No deals. No confessions. No evidence. Only rumors. And that phone, which mysteriously disappeared the day Nico did. She went back to work a week later. Same bakery, same apron. But people whispered now. Some called her a criminal's girl. Some called her a hero. Some just stared. But none of it mattered, not after what she'd been through. Because in her pocket, folded like a secret, was a one-way plane ticket. No name. Just a city, Florence. She didn't use it. Not right away. Weeks passed. Then months. No calls, no letters. No messages. She figured he'd meant what he said to disappear, for her safety. So she built her life again. Alone. Until one night. She walked into the bakery after closing to grab her forgotten keys. And there he was. Sitting at her table. A single tulip in front of him. No guards. No blood. Just Nico. Wearing a soft smile. You burned it all, she whispered. He nodded. Every part. The money? Gone. The guns? Melted. The name? Buried. She stared. Why? He stood slowly, walked to her. Stopped inches away. Because I was never supposed to survive that night, but you gave me more than a hiding place. You gave me a reason to live. He placed something in her hand. A new passport. Her name. His last name. You don't have to say yes, he said. But I'm not here for revenge. Or war. I'm here to see if there's still room in your life, for me. She looked down at the tulip. It was white, a symbol of forgiveness. And something else. A beginning. The next morning, her apartment was empty. No bags. No notes. Just a single pastry left on the counter with a smiley face drawn in chocolate. Some say they vanished into Italy. Some say they live on a vineyard under different names. Some say he died and left her everything. But those who knew the truth really knew, kept it quiet. Because love like that? It's not meant to be explained. Just remembered. He walked into my apartment bleeding. I walked out of it, bleeding for him. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to watch the next one. It's even deeper than this. Click on the image showing now to watch it.